understand you're concerned with submersible pumps in lakes. Can you explain why?
Yeah, I'm very concerned, and I have been for a long time. I'm a master electrician, and this has been going on for years. And the concern that I have is that submersible pumps are being installed in lakes, and they are not being protected with ground fault circuit interrupters, which is a code requirement.
So what's the importance of that ground fault?
The ground fault circuit interrupter protects the circuit from leakage, and if a cable were to be damaged in the lake where people are swimming, or if something was to fault, the ground fault device will shut the power off to the unit to make sure that people don't get electrocuted.
Okay. Has Heatline developed a easy to use ground fault protection?
It's been something that I've personally mandated to we make freeze protection, but my electrical background has me so concerned that I decided to develop a generic ground fault device that can be used with any electrical panel without the need to purchase a specific circuit breaker. Ground fault circuit interrupters or circuit breakers that would be used with a submersible pump would be in the price range normally from $250 to $350. I've created a device that can be used with a breaker panel or a fuse panel, and it's $190.
And it's fully approved?
It's fully approved. It can be used for 240 volt and 120 volt systems. Not only for submersible pumps, but also for any kind of pump or heat tracing or electrical wiring that may be in contact with water. So if you had a sump pump, for example, and you wanted to use a ground fault device to protect it, whether it's mandated by the electrical authority or not, it's never a bad thing to protect with ground fault devices. We have them every day in our bathrooms. We see them all the time. The little test reset button, those are ground fault devices. They're there to protect us from electrocution. The reason we see them around our sinks is that our hands can be in water and we can be holding on to an electrical appliance. They protect us from electrocution.
So apart from the ground fault, what also concerns you about the submersible pumps?
The installation methods that have gone on for more than 30 years. Typically a submersible pump was designed to be used in a well application where we bore a well in the ground to get our fresh water, our drinking water, and we submerge this pump. We send this pump down the well. It's about this long, about this big in diameter normally. And we put those pumps in wells. Well, when we're in a well, nobody's going to be swimming in the well, so it's not as much of a concern in a well. The cabling that feeds that well is normally a stranded cable. It's called NMWU, and it consists of a black, yellow, red, and green cable. They're not protected in any armor, so they are originally designed to be direct earth buried or to be put inside a conduit to be protected when supplying a well. These cables, however, are used to go into the lakes as well. So the problem with them is that they're not armored or protected, and they can be subject to mechanical injury. They also are subjected to moisture throughout their entire length. That moisture can cause nuisance tripping on a ground fault device in someone's panel, and a lot of times I believe that ground fault devices are being avoided on submersible pumps because of this nuisance tripping. What nuisance tripping is a situation where you could be having a shower, and for no known reason, all of a sudden that circuit breaker trips, and all of a sudden you don't have a shower anymore. It shuts off. It's called a nuisance trip. It may not be that the cable is damaged, but it may be that the cable is so wet that the insulation resistance around the cables have broken down, and for some reason it trips, and it's a nuisance. It drives people crazy. To get around it, people have taken it out and put in a regular breaker, and now the shower continues to work, but now the chance of an electrical failure or fault where people are swimming is absolutely possible. We've developed the milliamp ground fault device to go in front of the pump circuitry to protect the entire circuit all the way to the lake. The cabling that should be used with that is called tech cable. And tech cable is a PVC jacketed armored cable. It's one of the finest cables used in the electrical industry. You see them everywhere. You see them on rooftops, supplying air conditioning, condensers, many things. And tech cable is what we select, and we put a breakout boot on it. We seal the ends off where it goes into the water to make sure water can't migrate within the cable and cause nuisance tripping. So the milliamp device can be used with a standard cable or a cable that's already installed that may not be tech cable. If it ever nuisance trips or causes problems, then we would recommend to the customer that they change their cable to tech cable. I believe there are many thousands of pumps in lakes not protected, and they're a hazard and they're an accident waiting to happen.
And is the tech cable only available through Heatline?
The tech cable can be purchased through Heatline, but it's a standard in the industry. You can buy tech cable from any electrical supplier. You do not have to buy it from Heatline. But what we do at Heatline is we prepare the cable for you. We put these breakout boots and seals on them, which are not readily available. They're not easy to find. And what we do is we prepare the cable for the customer so that it's complete from front to back, so that you get a completely sealed unit ready for installation.
So if somebody comes to you for assistance with a new installation, what do you recommend to them?
I recommend a ground fault device. Obviously, I would recommend ours because it's cost competitive and it's a nice installation, and I would recommend that they use tech cable.
And what about for any existing applications? What would you recommend to them?
If somebody doesn't have tech cable, I would suggest that they immediately put a ground fault device in front of the circuit, no matter what kind of wiring they have. And if they don't know, that's okay, but put the ground fault in front of it, number one, to protect from hazard. If it nuisance trips or causes a problem, then you look further, and then you probably will install a tech cable, improve the wiring to the lake, and it will come with a capital cost. But what's the price for safety? We have our kids swimming and playing in the lakes. It's no place for electricity to shock you.
So if somebody required help with their application, like on the job site, would they call it an electrician, a plumber, or who's the best person?
The best person to call is an electrician, a certified licensed electrician, and they, because of the trade, they will know everything about ground fault protection. You can call your power authority. I have a feeling their phones may ring off the hook when people learn of this situation, and there have been incidents. We've had no fatalities in Canada that I know of, but I do know that there have been cases where people have been swimming in the lakes and they can continue no farther because they feel the electrification in the water and they know not to go any farther. There have been situations where people were not so lucky, where they dove in the water and they didn't get out. And that wasn't in Canada, but it was in the United States. So we know that the hazard is there. The other problem is that pumps have been installed post-inspection. In other words, when we are wiring homes and doing electrical work, all of that work is subject to inspection by the electrical authority. And in Canada and the United States, our authority is second to none. We put safety first in all cases. The problem with submersible pumps is they often go into the building after inspection, so they never see an inspector, or an inspector never sees it. A plumber may put it in and they may not put a ground fault device in. For whatever reason, they have to have a ground fault device in front of that submersible pump, whether it's ours or whether it's a specific circuit breaker. You don't have to purchase ours. This is a serious issue. I've made one that's easy, so that people can just buy it and it will fit. I've done that, but that doesn't mean you have to buy ours. This is a safety situation, and it's a requirement by code, and everyone that has a pump in a lake should immediately check to see if they've got the proper protection in front of that pump in the lake. And if they do not, they need to immediately, without fail, get an electrician or somebody authorized to put the proper protection in. They have to do this.
Yeah, this is a pretty important topic. So if anybody has any questions, you can give us a call, speak to Lauren or any of our techs here, and they can certainly help you out. Thanks for watching.
It will be our pleasure to help anybody that calls. This isn't about selling a product. This is a safety situation, and I believe the situation is grave. I know that the authorities are also very pleased that somebody is taking this upon themselves to try to get this message out, and it doesn't have to come from me. Just call Ontario Hydro if you're in Ontario. Just call your inspection authority and find out what the code is in your region and make sure that you're in compliance.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.